Wow, what's good, YouTube? It's me, Coach 67 Sports TV. Shout out to the amazing LDBC Lions Den boxing community. Before we go any further in the video, like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell so you'll be alerted anytime I post a new video. All right, before we get into the main portion of the video, let's address a fight that happened this past weekend. After days and maybe a week and a half, couple of weeks of clout chasing, Blair, the wannabe Ric Flair cop, he fought this weekend. He got stopped. And it's ridiculous how in this age of boxing, how the best fighters don't want to fight the best fighters, but yet fighters, they gain and they garner a lot of attention by clout chasing. And it's ridiculous. Instead of you just building up your profile, fighting good fighters, gradually building a name for yourself, building a fan base, fighters, they just want to just clout chase, just use other fighters to gain attention for themselves. And myself being a big fan of Errol Spence Jr., Mr. Cobb, Blair the Flair Cobb, he talked about Errol Spence Jr., he talked about Terrence Crawford, and understand this Blair Cobb is nowhere near close to even being on Terrence Bud Crawford or Errol Spence Jr. level. He's a 33-year-old prospect, and yet you calling out the two top fighters in the division, you talking about them, you trashing them, just to garner attention to yourself. And when you finally got the spotlight on yourself and you get a main event caliber fight, you just pretty much get beat up the whole fight and then get stopped. So this should be a lesson to a lot of you younger fighters. Don't clout chase, don't do all this other nonsense. Just do what you do, and eventually you'll get what's yours. So just stop all the clout chasing. All right, I just can't stand it. I mean, we live in a different era of boxing. I know the best fighters don't want to fight the best fighters, but I can't stand the clout chasing. It's ridiculous at this stage in the game. All right, so we address Blair the Flair cop. Now let's get to the main portion of the video. It seems as if the unthinkable has happened. It seems as if George Kambosos has agreed to fight Devin Haney. Now, based on everything that's happened in the sport of boxing, I'm still a skeptic, but let's be clear, George Kambosos, he really didn't want no parts of Devin the Dream Haney, just like a lot of other fighters. All the top fighters at the 135-pound weight division have avoided him, whether we're talking about Gervonta Tank Davis, whether we're talking about Ryan Garcia. Well, I really don't consider Ryan Garcia a top 135-pound fighter. His name is out there. He's one of the most talked about fighters, but he really hasn't done anything. He really hasn't earned anything. He's not a champion, and he's propped up and pedestalized for not really doing anything, achieving anything. So Gervonta Davis has avoided Devin Haney, Vasil Lomachenko, Ryan Garcia. Who else? Teofimo Lopez. All of these fighters have avoided Devin Haney. And the one thing about George Kambosos that just aggravates me, when Teofimo Lopez had an opportunity and the chance to fight for Undisputed and fight Devin Haney, he avoided Devin Haney. He called him an email champion. He refused to give us the Undisputed fight that we wanted in the lightweight division, at the 135-pound weight division. He avoided him. So thereafter, he proceeded to fight George Kambosos, make his way to Kambosos, and he lost. All right, now George Kambosos, leading up to the fight with Teofimo Lopez, basically he said that he knew that he knew that Teofimo Lopez wasn't an undisputed champion, that he acknowledged that that Devin Haney was the WBC champion, and that if he won that fight, then he would fight Devin Haney for Undisputed, and he knew he had to go through Devin Haney to become the Undisputed champion. However, once he got in that same position, he turned around, he did the same thing that Teofimo Lopez did. All right, so now we're at the point where basically he has no other options, and the only option he has is Devin Haney. And as a result, that's why we're going to get this fight for undisputed at the 135-pound weight division. All right, because he's exhausted all his other options, all his other possibilities. He tried to fight Gervonta Tank Davis. Tank Davis didn't want the fight because he's not interested in the belts. So no Tank Davis. He tried to fight Ryan Garcia. And like I said to someone else, Ryan Garcia, he really hasn't done anything to be pedestalized the way he is. He really isn't a champion. He was an interim champion at best. So he's not a real champion. Supposedly he has what, 10 million Instagram followers, 10 million social media followers. However, all of those followers has not translated into him being a pay-per-view star, him being a boxing star, him being a major attraction. So I don't see why fighters want to fight him. It's not like he's going to garner a major payday like somebody like Oscar De La Hoya did back in the Gap, or whoever the case may be. So he tried to fight Tank, didn't happen. Ryan Garcia. And of course, the one option that he was banking on was Vasil Lomachenko. And with everything going on in the Ukraine, you know, Russia invading Ukraine and the war going on, Vasil Lomachenko is defending his country against Russia. And from what I'm understanding, he being George Kambosos, he tried to get in contact with Vasil Lomachenko and tried to get him to fight him instead of fighting Devin Haney. And of course, from what I'm understanding, that Vasil Lomachenko declined his offer, and basically he's going to stay, and he's prioritizing fighting and defending his homeland in his home country. So good for him. I think that's admirable. And basically, since Vasil Lomachenko is preoccupied, we get the fight that most fight fans want. Well, let me phrase that. Most hardcore and real fight fans want. We want undisputed at 135, and that's the fight we're going to get. And, you know, I'm going to be truthful. I'm a bit of a skeptic. The reason being is because a lot of these fighters, they do just like all these other fighters. Once they get in a position, they become champion, just like George Kambosos is they won't hold on to their championship. They won't hold the belts hostage. And until they actually get in the ring and the referee's giving instructions, I'm still skeptical. I still have a hard time believing that this fight is going to actually happen. And once the fight actually happens, I'm absolutely certain that Devin Haney is just going to just pick apart George Kambosos. The only thing is that I would be concerned about if the fight actually did happen. Devin Haney is an excellent fighter, but he doesn't have any real knockout power. And as a result, if the fight goes to the scorecards, we saw what happened with Manny Pacquiao in his particular fight in Australia. To be truthful, if it goes to the scorecards, even if Devin Haney just whitewashes George Kambosos, if he doesn't stop him, I think he could get robbed in that particular fight. The way it's set up, from what I'm understanding, George Kambosos, they're gonna fight in Australia, and George Kambosos has a rematch clause. And if when Devin Haney wins, they have to have a rematch in Australia again. So it seems as if George Kambosos is doing everything he could to stack the deck in his favor. Like I said, I believe it when I see they are actually in the ring and the referee's giving instructions. At that point, I believe that the fight is actually going to come off. Hopefully we get to this point, and hopefully we get undisputed. So there's no, hey, he has these belts and he has this belt. We get undisputed at 135. So hopefully everything comes off and we get the fight we've been looking for. And then at that point, we'll have an undisputed champion at the 135-pound weight division. That's it for this particular video. Again, like the video, share the video, comment, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell. Again, it's me, Coach 67 Sports TV. I'll catch y'all on the rebound. Before I close, shout out to the amazing LDBC, Lions Den boxing community. Y'all have a blessed and phenomenal day. Look out for my next video, because I have a video that's going to be dropping pretty soon. So like the video, share the video, comment on the video, subscribe to the channel. Shout out to everybody. Peace. Have a blessed and phenomenal day. Catch you on the rebound.